Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news where we're going to be talking about Ralf Rangnick. We're going to be talking about Manchester United. We're going to be talking about the future. We're also going to be talking about summer. We're also going to be talking about current players that haven't really delivered. We'll be talking about Cavani. We'll also be bringing back into the equation things like McFred, Donny van der Beek, favouritism. Has anything really changed? Is Rangnick speaking the truth or is he towing the party line? Because I tell you what, one thing I would say about Rangnick today, he may well come out and say that Harry Maguire's the captain till the end of the season and there's no issues. But what do you expect him to say? Was there ever realistically a chance that Ralf Rangnick, even if he thought it, would have sat there in a press conference today and said, we've been arguing all week. You know, some people want Ronaldo to be captain, some people want Harry Maguire to be captain. What am I supposed to do? If I take the captaincy away, it just causes loads of problems. So I've just decided I'm gone in the summer. Let's just stick how it is. I mean, imagine even if I'm not saying that is the truth, but it's not like he could say that anyway. But some people want to believe it because a player's tweeted it, because a manager's said it. Do you believe it? We'll talk about that in a minute. But first of all, I just want to say it is Friday night, so we'll be doing a bit of a Q&A as ever. But we're also sponsored by Wash and Go. Now, this is a big competition and we brought it in last week. As we mentioned last week, Wash and Go are looking for a brand new home for their mascot Washy. And if you've not seen it before, it's a giant Wash and Go bottle. And yes, it's bright green. So they're giving you, the lucky viewers of the United Stand, the chance to give Washy a new home, as well as, more importantly, the opportunity to win your team or a team of someone you know, or for your kids, or for your nephew, or for your uncle or your gran, a brand new football kit paid for and sponsored by Wash and Go. We'll even throw in some extra United Stand merch to you as well. All we need you to do is hit the link in the description and tell us your amazing football team story. This can be how your team stuck up and helped a specific community, like the amazing work that Stonewall FC and Grenfell FC do, or really any other football team story that you can think of that is about your amazing team or a team that you know. I'll personally go through the entries myself and find someone I think deserves it, and the almighty honour, of course, of receiving Washy. You don't get the person inside it; you just get the merch, the suit, I think, as well as the kits and the merch. So far, we have received some amazing entries, but I want to make sure this prize goes to a team that really deserves it, and we have had quite a few ones that I quite like. So what you're waiting for, hit the link in the description and get in your entry today. Also, while you're down in the description, why not pick up a bottle of Wash and Go yourself? You can get it delivered to your door from Amazon. Wash and Go, 2-in-1. I use it every day, and it's an amazingly convenient product. Wash and Go with shampoo and conditioner. So thanks very much to Wash and Go for supporting the United Stand. Now on with the show. And obviously, look, if you know a football team who you would like to get a kit for them, Wash and Go, or you play in a football team or a five-a-side team or whatever, hit that link in the description and enter the competition, because if you are the lucky winner, there's all the promo and everything like that and all the photos and stuff, and yeah, you might even get to meet me if you want to. Anyway, thank you very much to Wash and Go. It's nice to give something back, and you can get a kit from Wash and Go, sponsored by Wash and Go, for your team. Just tell us the story about that team. Link in the description, or if you know someone who's got a team, get them aware of it, give them the link. Anyway, on with the show. Where are we going to start with this tonight? Well, we're going to start off, I suppose, with... And I want to talk about Declan Rice's comments about Pogba. I want to talk about a few other things as well, specifically about, Cavani. I want to talk about Cavani as well. I think that deal is getting worse by the week. I know, I love Cavani when he celebrates. I love it when he scores goals. But are we at that point now where he's off the pitch more than he's on the pitch? And we're paying him over 200 grand a week. But I want to start off with Ralf Rangnick. Obviously, I listened to Adam's press conference this afternoon. Not Adam. He didn't do the press conference for United. I listened to Adam's reaction to the press conference. And I think, look, Adam's already spoken to you about that, so I'm not going to go in depth. But the big takeaway for me was that Ralf Rangnick said that there's never been any discussion about changing the captaincy. Harry Maguire will be the captain till the end of the season. I decide on who the captain is. I'm in charge. And you know what? To me, you can get very angry about that. You can get very happy about that. You can believe what you want to believe. And the thing that I will always defend is my opinion, because without my opinion, what am I? And it's the same as you. And I'm not going to cry if you have a different opinion to me, if that's what you truly believe. What I would say is that, why would I believe Ralf Rangnick over a journalist? And that's where I come from. Why would I believe Ralf Rangnick over a journalist? Who employs Ralf Rangnick? Manchester United. Who employs Harry Maguire? Manchester United. Do you trust the people who run Manchester United? And if you do, you crack on. I don't. So I don't have to believe what Ralf Rangnick says. I don't have to believe what a journalist says. I believe what I know and I believe what I've been told. And I know that there is issues in that dressing room. Simple as that. I know that there is conflict in that dressing room. Simple as that. And that's where I'm at. So I will not swallow nonsense about there not being issues in the dressing room. And I will not swallow that there isn't conflicts of interest in that dressing room. And I will not swallow that people aren't getting on because they are getting on because they're not. It's as simple as that. I feel that Manchester United are Branchester United. I feel that they are very much about reputation and spin. And I think that they've spun the club out of control. You know, if you get results on the pitch, you get results on the pitch and everything's good. When you're not getting results on the pitch, then their whole model starts to spin out of control. They employ people to come into that club and spin, whether it's social media experts or not. And they've spun out of control because these players have become so used to being social media successes that when they're not a success on the pitch, it spins out of control. And I feel that what Manchester United, when a manager comes out and says, Harry Maguire's my captain and he'll be captain until the end of the season, that's appalling. In my opinion, that is appalling. Not because he should be stripping the captaincy from Harry Maguire. I actually am going to probably shock people in a minute and say, I can sort of understand why he wouldn't do it. But to come out with the statement that Harry Maguire is captain until the end of the season, that's a very definitive statement. So if Harry Maguire costs us 2 goals against Leeds and plays crap, he's still the captain of this club. If Harry Maguire gets sent off against Atletico Madrid and we go out, he's still captain of the club. If Harry Maguire gets subbed off and throws his armband on the floor, he's still captain of the club. You know, all you've got to say is Harry Maguire's the captain of Manchester United. You don't need to say he's the captain until the end of the season, when, to be honest, he is absolutely, quite rightly, being scrutinised as a captain. You know, but I don't even blame Rangnick for that. I blame the club for that. And that's where I start to get suspicious. When a manager of Manchester United is coming out and saying that Harry Maguire's my captain until the end of the season, I start to think, well, that's the sort of statement that Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp probably don't make. In fairness, maybe they do. I think Jurgen Klopp would probably come out about Jordan Henderson and say he's my captain till he wants to retire because he's achieved things as a manager, but as a captain. But to me, it's just it's typical of United. It's Branchester United, because those sort of statements, it's like backing Boris Johnson. You know, there's lots of people who don't want Boris Johnson to be the Prime Minister of England, and probably shouldn't be. But ultimately, they're backing him, even though he's made loads of mistakes. It feels like Manchester United are doing that with this. It's like it's more about perception and, you know, being right rather than what's right. Ultimately, we're a football club. To the fans, we're a football club. To the owners, they're a brand. And, you know, I said this a few weeks ago, and I feel I'm right. A brand which is interested in TeamViewer and any other sponsors they've got, they probably get a phone call from TeamViewer on Monday morning if they take the captaincy off Harry Maguire, because it's a negativity on the club. So, look, I don't think they're ever going to take the captaincy off Harry Maguire because I think they're a brand. But for me, I said it to somebody today, I don't know why we're talking about the captaincy, really. Just drop him. I don't think he's good enough to start. I mean, the captaincy, he's no captain. He's not a captain. I don't care, you know, if he can turn it around, great, but, you know, he's not a captain. In my opinion, he's not a captain. And in my opinion, I don't think he's a particularly good defender, but that's the most important thing for me. And look, you can say he's the captain of this club. You can say he's the captain of this club, but if I was in that dressing room, who am I going to listen to? Harry Maguire, or who am I going to listen to me? Who am I going to listen to? Am I going to listen to Harry Maguire? And it's not his fault. I just want to say, big ups United Stand for not muting rival fans, says Liam Deegan. For me, this is not about the personality. This is not about... I mean, Harry Maguire might be a nicer person than Cristiano Ronaldo. Let's be honest. In personal terms, Harry Maguire might be a stand-up, family guy, nice guy, one of the nicest people in the world. And Ronaldo could be a bit of an arrogant dick. Who knows? You know, we're not going down the local pub for a pint with them, are we? We're judging them on football. And I think some people let that slip sometimes. But if I'm in a dressing room, if I'm Scott McTominay and I'm in the dressing room, and I've got Ronaldo telling me one thing, and I've got Harry Maguire telling me the other. Who am I going to listen to? Am I going to listen to 3-time Premier League winner, 2-time La Liga winner, 2-time Serie A winner, 7 domestic titles, 5 Champions Leagues, 5 Ballon d'Ors? Am I going to listen to him, or am I going to listen to Harry Maguire? I'm going to listen to Cristiano Ronaldo. And not because he's got shiny trophies, but because he's won it all. He actually knows how to win. Harry Maguire's won nothing, I don't think. I don't think he's won anything. And that is not his fault. But I am going to listen to Cristiano Ronaldo. So they can put the captain's armband on Harry Maguire if they want to. It doesn't matter to me. They can say he's the captain, but we all know who the real leader is. It is Ronaldo. If he speaks, you listen because of the reasons I just said there. And look, put Harry, when we're going to battle, by all means, put Harry Maguire at the front. But he's going to war with a breadstick on a rocking horse. And Cristiano Ronaldo is going to war in a tank with heat-seeking missiles. That's just the way it is. It doesn't need to be personal. It's just the way it is. And that's what United created when they brought Ronaldo back. And you know who's really to blame? The club and Ollie for allowing that to manifest, because this has been rumbling on for months. Discontent in the dressing room. And really, Harry Maguire's job was impossible because he hasn't really got leadership qualities like a Ronaldo has. And can they work together? That's what we need to see. Can they work together? I mean, Ronaldo might just go, at the end of the day, I'm not really bothered about the captaincy. I'm going to help you. You help me. Let's work together. That's the ideal thing to do. But for some reason, that's not been possible. Maguire has got England to the World Cup final and is a proven captain. Ronaldo has never been a captain at any club, which is a fact for a good reason, says Rash. Mate, if you're going to do your stupid anti-Ronaldo chats, maybe go and figure out what you're actually saying before you type it. Because I can tell you now, England have not been to a World Cup final. For me, it's simple. If your captain is being questioned, undermined, and the team's performing badly, he shouldn't have been appointed at all, says Daniel Shabba. Also, last time I checked, Harry Maguire's not captain of England. Oblivious Ralf is not in charge. If not, the captaincy is an easy decision for him, says Aka. Well, look, let's take it away from that for the moment. I mean, I feel that Rangnick has made a statement. We spoke about this on the Paul Ince show this morning. Rangnick has made a statement. The captaincy is not going to change between now and the end of the season. And in some ways, I'm quite relieved about that. I stand by everything I've just said, but I am quite relieved about it because this might shock people. But if we had taken the captaincy off him, whether it's the right thing or wrong thing to do, and I've got to stand by what I've been saying for months. I think we first spoke about this when Ronaldo came in. I actually said in the summer before Ronaldo even came that I'd give the captaincy to Bruno over Maguire. So I've never been a big fan of Maguire as captain. But what I have said is I think he might perform better without the captaincy. I do. I think he'd perform better. The stupid thing is, I think he would be a better player without the captaincy. I think he would be a better player if he was being led by somebody else. Because he wouldn't have the pressure of having to lead. He'd just have to focus on his own game. So the stupid thing is, I actually firmly believe Maguire would be a better player if he wasn't the captain, because he wouldn't have to worry about being a leader as well as his own game. Because I don't think he's ever established himself as a United player. And again, I blame Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for that. He gave him the captaincy way too soon. I think he's one of the quickest players to be awarded the captaincy since the 60s. Obvious, Ralf is not in charge. I had a tired day. Absolutely love how you sat that guy down. Put a smile on my face. Is Sharath Math Fitness. He won the championship playoff with Hull in 2016. That's better than Ronaldo, says Joe. Well, I want to get into your questions in a bit. But if I'm absolutely honest, the fact that Rangnick has come out and said that Maguire's going to be the captain now, even though it's not the decision I would have taken, I'm glad a decision has been taken, because at least now fans can say I'd give the captaincy to Ronaldo, but it's killed dead any ongoing discussion about is it going to happen tomorrow, is it going to happen on the next game. We know that Rangnick is going to keep picking Maguire, and because we've seen that, remember this conversation has moved from Lindelof should be starting over Maguire to Rangnick's now picking Maguire no matter what, to Ronaldo should be captain over Maguire, to which Rangnick is now saying he's the captain. He's a very lucky guy, Harry Maguire, because as I've said before, I liked Varane and Lindelof. Lindelof got burgled, had to take a week off, came back and had lost his place. You know, where's the loyalty to a player that's playing well, who has to take a week off for family reasons, comes back, loses his place to a player who's not playing well? You know, I do feel for Lindelof on that, but Maguire won that battle, and now he's won the battle to keep the captaincy. So he's a very lucky guy, I think, in my opinion. But what I would say is a decision's been made. And I'm happy to go along with that decision because Rangnick has come out and said he's in charge. And when you do those things, I'm sorry, I really like Rangnick, but it's getting a little bit similar to Ollie now. That's a sword you might have to fall on. You come out publicly and say you're in charge and you're making these decisions, then I'm sorry, I don't think you are making the decisions, but I can't prove that. So therefore, you are making the decisions. So let's go. Let's see what happens. And I hope you get it right. Because to be honest with you, there's a lot of things for me that are very, very similar to what was happening before. But before I talk about that, what I would say is that at least he's made the decision. Because imagine on Sunday, Maguire starts, but Ronaldo's the captain. Press would have a field day. And then I think we would have more problems at a key point in the season. We're playing Atletico Madrid next Wednesday. We're playing Leeds on Sunday. We can't afford to drop points in any of those games. And I know it's not points against Atletico Madrid, but we can't afford to get beat, is what I mean. And do you think Maguire and his supporters in that dressing room are suddenly going to go, oh well, it's all for the best? You know, it's happened on social media. It's happened in the media. You've lost. Do you think it would be disruptive? And the one thing is that whether Ronaldo should be the captain or Bruno or De Gea, they're not. And they haven't been for the last 6 months. Sometimes it is better just to stick with what you know than to potentially open up a bigger problem. I mean, it could be better, but ultimately it comes down to leadership, really. And there's weak leadership at that club. So look, the thing that makes me not necessarily happy but content is that they've made a decision. Whilst I disagree with fans abusing Maguire, but this happened to Ollie, United seem to make a big deal out of simple things. Ollie goodbye speech, Rangnick talk, says Daniel Shaba. Probably Maguire wants to keep the glamour of being captain. We shouldn't even be talking about this. He's not even good enough to start, says Paolo. That's the big thing for me, is that, you know, the captaincy is an assumption that Maguire and Ronaldo will start. Ollie left this team in almost a far worse state than Mourinho did, says Oz. Well, I do agree with you on that. What about Ronaldo not being a captain before? Forgot to make comment on that. What makes him such a good leader? Ronaldo stand again, says Mark Turkington. I will just answer that. What makes Ronaldo a good person to listen to? 5 Ballon d'Ors, 5 Champions Leagues, 3 Premier Leagues, 2 La Ligas and 2 Serie A's. Can we go through the honour list of Harry Maguire? How many league titles has he won? How many Ballon d'Ors has he won? How many Champions Leagues has he won? Has he won anything? You know, what did he win? Under 16s for the Sheffield area tournament? I don't know. So, look. Make your choice, mate. If you think Harry Maguire's a better captain than Ronaldo, off your jog. I'm not taking a piss. If you think Harry Maguire's a better leader for Manchester United than Cristiano Ronaldo, fine. I ain't got a problem with it. I've just given you a reason why I think Ronaldo's a better one. The problem with Harry being captain is that makes him undroppable. He causes way more damage being on under fit. I think that's a great point by Gustav as well. I wouldn't start the lad. And as I've said before, I think he'd be a better player if he wasn't the captain. I think he'd be a better player if he had a Roy Keane in front of him. I think he'd be a better player if he had a Gary Neville in the back four. I think he'd be a better player if he had a Vidic next to him. I think he'd be better if he had a captain in that team telling him what to do. I think that's the problem with Harry Maguire, because I don't think he's ever settled at Manchester United. I still don't think he's a Man United player. I don't think he's ever settled, because I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer made a very silly appointment. He spent £80 million on a player, brought him to Manchester United, and then within 3 months made him the captain, and he hadn't even established himself as a United player. I think actually it was ridiculous what Solskjaer did. Can only be captain on the pitch if you play. Drop Maguire to the bench or preferably the reserves, says Brandon. And Rangnick is too nice. He's trying to get along with the board. Same mistake Ollie did, says Shahin. And this is where I want to go next. I think this is the most important part of what I want to say, and then I want to get into the Q&A aspect of the show. I like Ralf Rangnick. I liked him before we got him. and I like his press conferences since he's come in. I'm not overawed by the football. I thought Brighton were better than us on Monday, and we won the game, and it was a good result. I think we will beat Leeds. I think Atletico Madrid are bad, and I think we will beat Watford. So we might be in store for a good couple of weeks, and we need that. You know, we need a bit of positivity. So I like Ralf Rangnick, and that's my starting point. But I absolutely agree with that previous chat. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came into this job as an interim, and it was like it was Christmas. It was like, oh, I'm going to leave Mould for a bit. I'm coming to Man United. This is great. And basically, he did quite well, and United were like, do you fancy the job full time? I love you. Oh, I love you. You can anything. Christmas, dinner, come round. You know, you've made my life come true. It's like an episode of This Is Your Life or Surprise, Surprise. This is amazing. Oh, I can't believe it. You've made this is my dream. It's like you're a genie in a bottle. You know, you're absolutely amazing, right? And Ollie forever was grateful. You know, people were speaking to Ollie about the Glazers, and he was like, he'd always stick up for them because they'd given him his dream job. Ralf Rangnick is the same. He desperately wants this job. He said it twice. He desperately wants this job, and the chances of him getting this job are ridiculously slim. To get this job, he has got to make everybody love him. Everybody. The players, the coaches, the technical director, the director of football, and Joel Glazer, and the board, and Richard Arnold. He's got very little chance of getting this job, but he wants this job. He ain't going to start making any waves. He ain't going to start stripping the captaincy off somebody. Look at what Ralf Rangnick has done since he's come into this club. I think the football's improved because he's a better coach, but what's actually changed? Delo is a change. Alanga coming in is a change. Rashford being dropped is a change. Ronaldo being dropped, well, Ollie did that. But did Donny van der Beek get a chance? Off you go. Are McFred still playing? Yes. Is it still picking your favourites like Harry Maguire, Bruno Fernandes, Luke Shaw? Yes. Has there been any prospect of the captaincy changing? No. I actually think there's a lot of things that were happening under Ollie that are still happening under Rangnick. The big one that and look, he's playing tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock. I'm doing like a 3 o'clock show on That's Football, so we'll be able to have a big chat about this because he's playing at 3 o'clock tomorrow. Donny van der Beek. Let's see how he plays tomorrow because we don't want to jump on a bandwagon after one game. But I can't believe he didn't give Donny van der Beek a go. So, look, I think Rangnick's a people pleaser. I think he's a people pleaser for United because he's desperate for the job. I like him. I actually think if he was given total freedom, he would be a good manager. But I just think he's trying to please everybody at that club. And when you're trying to please people, you don't do the things that you believe in because you're trying to please them. That's not fair. Maguire is one of competition heaviest. No, I'm not reading that, Oz. In my opinion, Rangnick backing Maguire puts him under even more severe scrutiny in the next weeks and months. Expect a massive uproar from fans on his next mistake. Daniel, you know what? I think Rangnick has put himself in a very interesting position. I like Rangnick, you know I do. And the only manager I've really jumped in on early was Van Gaal. Mourinho I gave a lot of time. The great thing about this channel is the proper community that we have. And I mean proper community is people who watch the show. And I see it on Twitter sometimes, like people will try and attach me to something and people who watch the show will jump in and go, hold on a minute, Rashford's one of his favourite players. Bruno's one of his favourite players. Martial's one of his favourite players. And he was very late in going Ollie out. But you'll only know that if you watch the show. I don't jump in on managers quite early. I'll give them as long as they can. And I did it with Mourinho. Van Gaal, I was a bit quick on him, to be fair. But I like Rangnick. But I think that previous comment's spot on. What's Rangnick supposed to say today? As I said, he can only come out and say the news stories are rubbish. Harry Maguire's my captain and he will be my captain. That's all he can say because he cannot come out and say, to be honest, we're sticking with Harry for now, but we've had a big think about it and we were thinking about Ronaldo. We can't. There's only one thing he can say. But by saying that, it does make it quite interesting because you are backing somebody that a lot of fans don't think should be starting, let alone be the captain, and you are publicly backing them. Therefore, it's your sword to fall on. So that's management. That's management. Arsenal fans channel. I don't know what you're on about, Liam Deegan. This is why Poch cannot be the next manager. He's far too desperate for the job, says Jimbo. Yep, I agree. And Mark, the problem is people comparing greatness. Ronaldo with okay players, Maguire, Rashford, Fred. Many people make that mistake and fail, says MK. Well, look, I don't know whether anybody's watched this video, so I don't want to spoil it for you, but I put a video up on That's Football. It's well worth a watch. It's only about 8 minutes long. Rangnick has exposed things before. I believe him, says Robert McCormack. What do you believe him on, Robert? Because I really appreciate Robert's comments, and he's got very strong opinions. But I want to know what you believe him on, Robert. You believe him that there's no unrest in the dressing room anymore? Because I'm telling you now, there is. They've all agreed to put it aside till the end of the season, but people don't get on. And it's very interesting what Rangnick said in the dressing room today, because he almost exposed a lie. Because he basically said there were unhappy people in the dressing room, but they've left and gone on loan now. It wasn't words to that effect, but it was something like, and I don't know whether I wrote it down. Oh, the squad's happier since the loan players have left. Okay, all right. That's what he said. So basically, the squad is happier since the loan players left. Happier. Doesn't mean happy. Happier. Jesse Lingard is not happy. He's still here. Dean Henderson is not happy. He's still here. Eric Bailly is not happy. He's still here. And as soon as I heard that Rangnick had said that in the press conference, the dressing room is now happier since the loan players left, I was like, well, Ahmad's a young lad. I don't really think he was expecting to be starting for United. Donny, yeah, definitely wanted to go, but never kicked up a fuss. Martial, okay, there was a bit of stuff with Martial. I think we've got to take that on board. But Lingard had to take a few days off and was posting pictures of West Ham. Dean Henderson, desperate to leave. So, what are we actually talking about here, Ralph? The squad's happier since the loan players left. 2 of them are still here. So, look, let's believe what you want to believe, but I'll tell you now, I don't believe players tweeting because I don't think they do it. I don't believe managers saying things that haven't happened because they're employed by Manchester United, who are the biggest spinners in football as far as I'm concerned. So the truth is somewhere in between for me. I think journalists have got a lot to gain by talking about United, and I think players and managers have a party line to toe to try and make things out to be positive. And I think in between is the truth. I don't believe that dressing room is completely happy. I also don't believe some of the names that have been mentioned this week are the ones causing the trouble. But somewhere in between is the truth. And the reality is, I don't really care who the players are that are unhappy. What I really care about is why a football club that is so obsessed with money can't run a football club. That's the thing that bothers me. Why do we have all this unrest? Is there unrest in the Arsenal dressing room? If there is, we don't know about it. Is there unrest in the Chelsea dressing room? No. Is there unrest in the Liverpool room? No. Is there unrest in the Man City dressing room? No. And people will say, well, that's because they're doing well. You're telling me there's not Man City players that are pissed off that they're not getting the game time that they want? Of course there are. But it's dealt with. You know the truth? Every dressing room in the Premier League has got people in it who are unhappy. But it's only Manchester United where it hits the headlines. That says a lot about how that club is run and respect. Would love to see Mark as a full-time United, says Robin You Heard. And Mark, let's face it, we're screwed unless future managers could get in contact that they can be a real manager, then they will fail, says Andy and Bruno. How long does Maguire have left on his contract, and do you think United will give him a new one, says the Honest Tiger? I think whatever the future is with Harry Maguire, and I think we all need to hope that it's a really good one, although he's 29 in about 3 weeks. He's going to be here at United for at least 3 years, I think. I don't see how. And look, I want to move on from Harry Maguire because I want to get into your questions and there is other things. But sometimes a player becomes symbolic of the problem. And I was going to say this. I did a video on That's Football today. It's well worth a watch. It's only 8 minutes long and it goes into far more depth than what I'm going to go in here. But the point I was going to make is that Jamie Carragher had basically said that Cristiano Ronaldo was a bad signing for United and they need to get rid of him in the summer. And I understand why Carragher was saying that, but this is the danger when you don't really know the full depth of what the problem is at United, which surprises me from Carragher, because he has spoken quite well about the fact that, you know, we haven't won titles and stuff, and that's appalling. But Ronaldo, for me, probably will leave in the summer if we don't get top 4. But it's so important that we get top 4 and he stays, because in my opinion, all Ronaldo has done was walk into that dressing room like you would and said, this ain't good enough. And that's upset some people in the dressing room who are used to not being good enough, not winning things, getting to semi-finals and bottling it. So there is unrest in the dressing room, but it's been created by somebody who's walked in and said, we need to be better than this. And some people are like not on board with that for whatever reason. So if you take Ronaldo out and sell him in the summer, you go back to the dressing room that's accepts where we've been for the last 3 years. So yeah, look, bringing Ronaldo into the club may well have caused disruption, but it's disruption because somebody's come in who is a winner and said this is what we need to do, and some people aren't happy about that. So I think Ronaldo's massively important. Of course, I agree, it probably has caused dressing room unrest, but it's like dropping Roy Keane. Let's substitute Ronaldo for Roy Keane. The same thing would happen. Is Carragher going to say, yeah, the worst thing United did was bring Roy Keane back? You know, you bring Roy Keane back at 29. I mean, he never left, but you bring a 29-year-old Roy Keane back to United, that dressing room is going to have leaks and everything, because he's going to walk in and go mad. And some people won't like it because somebody else might be the captain. So Darren says, Mark, you are the issue causing this online hate towards him. You reply to his every tweet. He's getting obsessive. Me and match-going fans back him, says Darren. Darren, you know what? You are the problem, Darren, because you are lying, and ultimately you can't accept that people have different opinions to you. I actually do not cause any hate to anybody. I go out the way to constantly say that this is about football. It cannot be about personal issues. I said nothing about the tweet he put out yesterday about. In fact, I did say something. There was a tweet that Harry Maguire put out yesterday about him and that young lad who's sick, and I actually tweeted that, you know, ultimately it's a sad day when people are getting criticised for doing something nice, which has nothing to do with football. I will never stop calling out players that I don't think are good enough for Manchester United, because that's about supporting your team and having standards. And Darren, if you're a match-going fan, I call you out as a fraud. I don't think you're a match-going fan at all, because if you're a match-going fan, then you would know what the terraces are like. And I'll tell you what, Darren, if you went to Old Trafford in the early noughties, like I and many other people did, you would also know that Ryan Giggs used to get quite a bit of shit from the Old Trafford crowd because he was quite a frustrating player at times. But you'd have to go to games to know that, because most people would go, everyone just used to sing the song about Ryan Giggs. No, they didn't. The terraces are a bad place to be. They're probably not as bad as they used to be, but when I used to go years ago, you did used to get fans getting on people's back. In fact, you still get it at Old Trafford. So Darren, swivel on it. On your snowflake fucking way of supporting a football club, win, lose or draw, get behind the team and the players. What utter shite. What utter shit have you been eating tonight? Get behind the players, win, lose or draw. I've never been to Old Trafford when we've been playing badly and heard people applauding people. Oh, don't worry. Don't worry, mate. Just carry on. Don't worry, it's fine. Win, lose or draw. Yeah. And you know who would be the biggest cheerleader of that bullshit not being true? Sir Alex. I think Sir Alex would just send 11 players out and go, don't worry about it, lads. You're playing for United. We'll cheer you whether you're shit or you're great. Because at the end of the day, it's like a school sports day when you know the modern school sports day, lads. It's the taking part. Doesn't matter if you come last, we'll all applaud you. What absolute shite. Why do people these days associate criticising poor performance with hate? We're football fans. It doesn't matter whether you're a United fan, a Liverpool fan, whatever. We're football fans. Football's been a sport for over 100 years, with people watching it for over 100 years. And when people do well, they get celebrated. And when people do shit, they get jeered. It's like a stand-up comedian. If they tell a crap joke, people jeer them. If they tell a good one, you end up being Peter Kay. It's about talent. This is an entertainment business. It's about talent. It's not a fucking charity. So, you know what, Darren? Swivel on it. Because I don't think you're genuine at all. I think you're a snowflake. I think you're somebody who actually can't differentiate between valid opinion that a player is not very good and then turn it into this world where you can't say anything negative because it's hate. Jog on and grow up. We're talking about football. Football. And we're talking about Manchester United, the club that's bigger than football, the club that actually means so much to so many people. And if you wear that shirt of Manchester United, you bloody better wear it properly, because there's been so many legends who've worn it over the years that if you aren't any good, you're going to get called out for it. And that's all it is. That's all it is. As a Bayern supporter, I hope we don't buy Harry. We should not that desperate for a centre-back. I don't think anyone's going to buy him, to be honest. To be honest, I don't think anyone's going to buy him, mate. So look, I think with where we are in relation to it, that's not just aimed at Darren, by the way. That's aimed at everybody. I get tired of people in the modern world who cannot understand that you can be critical of people. If somebody watches this show tonight and says, oh, you know what? I like the United stand, but Goldbridge was shit tonight. He was bang out of order. You know, he's not his normal self. He was crap. Do you think I'm going to cry and go, oh my God, it's just hate. It's just hate. It's just hate. Hate is somebody who starts calling you a horrible name or starts spreading lies about you. That's hate. That's personal. Telling somebody they're a crap footballer and shouldn't be starting for United, that's not hate. That's assessment of a footballer playing football. I tell you what, I follow England. I followed England in the Euros. I think Southgate's a crap manager. I don't think he should be the manager of England. I think he's rubbish. I thought he was a rubbish Premier League manager, and I think he's a rubbish international manager, and I think he's got the job because he's a very, very political guy, and he represents the country really well. But I don't think he's a very good coach. Oh, I must fucking hate him then. Oh, I must hate him. If I see him in the street, I've got to go up to him and swear at him. Yeah, if I saw him in the street, I'd have a chat with him. I'd tell him I don't think he should be England manager, and he might not want to have a chat with me. But I'd say, Gareth, that's your prerogative. That's up to you. I understand it. But I don't dislike you. You seem like a nice guy. Because you know what? I'm intelligent enough to know he's a football manager. And as a person, he might be the nicest person in the world. But you're managing my country. I'd rather you weren't. Let's go for a pint and talk about something else. You know, it's like Sean Turner says, you literally cannot have an opinion these days. But you can. You can. Because this is not about hate. And it's something that we talk about a lot in this community. You can have an opinion. What you must never do is turn that opinion into something that's very personal. Because that isn't right. And that's why I disagreed last night with people who were jumping on Harry Maguire's tweet about the visiting that sick person. Because that's not about football. But I tell you what, I don't want Manchester United to turn into school sports day. I've told this story before. I went to my daughter's school sports day about 10 years ago. And she won the race and everybody got a sticker. And I was like, I didn't say it to my daughter because that's the school that she goes to, but I was talking to the wife about it and I was like, why did everyone get a sticker? And it's like, because it's a non-competitive sports day. I was just like, can we move schools, please? And we didn't, but I don't agree with that. I just don't agree with that mentality. Some people do. Well done. Welcome to the opinion club. I believe that in life, you won't get a job. Somebody else will get a job. I've been for jobs where people have got the job because of it's my mate. Yeah, sort him out. You know, I've been the best candidate for a job and not got it. I know that sounds wrong, but you know, people say bollocks. You were probably shit. That's fine. But what I'm saying is, in this world, some people get the job because they're better than you. Some people get the job because they know the person doing the interview. That's the real world. So why do we have this mentality in the world that school sports day everybody wins? They don't. People with talent finish first. We cannot turn football into that. You cannot just go, oh, I feel sorry for him, so he should be playing for Man United. Fucking go and play for Crewe. I guarantee you, Crewe fans wouldn't want them either. It's a competitive sport. I wanted to be a professional footballer. Respect to every footballer who's made it. And I don't care whether it's Scott McTominay, Bruno Fernandes. They've worked bloody hard to get there. I know what it's like playing football when you're 12, 13, 14. It's competitive. And to go through that and end up playing, even if you're not very good for Man United, to get that far, you've done really, really well. But it is competitive. And if you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And we must never lose sight of that. Years ago, when Rashford hurt his back, you said he could hit the wall like Rooney. That always stuck with me. Also seemed his best when he and Martial were on forms as Kevin Barrett. I think that's a great question. I think it's a really great question. And I'm not biased, Sofa. I'm really not. And if you think I'm biased, you shouldn't watch the channel. Because there's plenty of other things you can go and watch. But I'm not biased. And you can believe that or not. I don't really care. I like Ronaldo because I watched Ronaldo from his debut at United all the way through his career. There's a loyalty that's built up with Ronaldo. And I still believe he's the best player we've got. That's not bias. That's belief. Bias is when you ignore people's weaknesses because you have an agenda. And I haven't ignored Ronaldo's weaknesses. I've called him out. I thought he was. I've said a few times I don't think he's good. Bruno Fernandes is my favourite player. I thought he was shit on Monday night. So I don't have a bias. But I think that's a very good point about Rashford because it is Friday night. And I remember Robin Van Persie, you know when Rashford did his back, I remember Robin Van Persie saying that back injury, and I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like a stress fracture in his spine or something like that. And I think Robin Van Persie said he'd had it, and he said it's one of those injuries where you don't ever know when you're fit, like, because you can come back too soon and you can come back fine, but psychologically it can bother you. Look, I don't know what's going on with Rashford, but I hope he can get back to the player that he was 2.5 years ago. Because it's funny, I still get tagged into this tweet, and this is the great thing about Out of Context. It's this tweet that I put out, and it was something along the lines of, I think Marcus Rashford's the best left-sided forward in Europe at the moment, and he's right up there with Neymar. Now, people keep using that tweet. And if I'd put it out last week, I'd probably stop doing this because I'd think you're a bloody idiot. But I put that out 2.5 years ago when he was one of the best left-sided attackers in Europe. And he was. And people don't like that because, times change, but he was. And I'd love him to be able to get back to that. But you know what? I think Jamie Carragher has some really good opinions. I think his opinion on Ronaldo today is crap. But there is no perfect pundit. There is no perfect fan. This is the beauty of this beautiful game, is that for every good call you make, for me, I said Bruno Fernandes will change this football club, and he did. And he was a Sporting Lisbon midfielder. I also said Liverpool are spending 75 million on the Dutch Chris Smalling, and I got it wrong. That's the great thing about this game. Your opinion can be as good as my opinion, and my opinion can outdo a Gary Neville sometimes, because it's football. It's the great level. It's the great leveler. It's the beautiful game, and it universally brings us all together because we've all got an opinion, and we must never lose that. And that's why when I have a belief, I always say it's my opinion, because somebody might have a completely different one. But the people who come at me and say you're wrong and I'm right, bullshit. There's too many grey areas, and I tell you what, there's so much grey at United, it should be in that 50 shades of grey. Football is a competitive sport, says Paolo. Competitive, regular people get criticised at their jobs, footballers too. It's not like they play for free, says Paulo Ramirez. I'll always have sympathy with a footballer when they're targeted personally. I think it's a disgrace. Vicious personal stuff like racism and people delving into their personal lives. I think it's wrong. I'll always have sympathy for them that. But I won't have sympathy for a footballer who gets called out for being crap, because ultimately, if you are a footballer and you are offended by people saying you're crap, I don't believe you. I just do not believe you. I do not believe a modern day professional footballer who's had to fight to go all the way through amateur football, youth football, which is ridiculously competitive, to play for a club like Man United. If you're telling me they can't deal with criticism, I'll call them a liar. Bollocks. You cannot go through all they've been through and then not deal with setbacks and criticism. And also, you're on a lot of money. You're in a privileged position. Get on with it. Get on with it. And if you have to leave Man United, you'll end up at Everton or Newcastle or something like that on good money as well. It's about finding your level. If I'm not mistaken, Ronaldo was captain for Portugal when they won the Euros and Real Madrid when they won the Champions League. Compare that to Maguire. Enough said. Jack, you know that Euros thing? Anyone who doesn't think Ronaldo's a leader, and he 100% is, watch the Euros final that Portugal won. He had to come off. He was more of a manager on that touchline than the manager. I'm not saying anything more than that. But look, there is a positive. And I think the positive for me is, and I think sometimes we lose track of this, because ultimately, whether you're Team Maguire or Team Ronaldo, you should be Team Manchester United anyway, because there will be some people out there that are thinking, oh, I hope Maguire messes up because then I'll be proved right that he's a crap captain. I hope he doesn't fuck up. I hope he plays well. And I hope that we get top 4, because I want Ronaldo here next year. Because we need to keep Ronaldo at this football club, because I think the disruption that bringing him in is caused is the right disruption. That squad needs a kick up the arse. And I think it's had one. And I think some of them have responded to it and some of them haven't. And we need to keep kicking them up the arse. You can't make an omelette without cracking a few eggs. I keep saying this. There's no quick fix. I personally think the club is in trouble over the next 18 months. And the reason for that is there's players like Fred, McTominay, Maguire. There's a few others. They're just 3 off the top of my head. Do you think they're good enough to win a title? Because I don't. I think they could be good squad players, but I don't think they're good enough. They're going to be first team players for probably the next 3 years. We've got too many players at this club who are not good enough to take us where we need to go, and they're not going anywhere. We've also got players like your Pogbas and your Ronaldos and your Cavani's who, whatever you think about them at the moment, they're not going to be here in 2 years' time. Maybe not in a year's time, maybe not in 6 months' time. So we're going to lose very good players, and we're going to keep players that aren't good enough for us to win a title, which means the void can only be filled by brilliant recruitment and a really good manager. And even then, that's going to take time. I think the next 18 months for United, if they end up being in a better position than we are now, they'll have performed a minor miracle. I don't want to come across as negative because, maybe I'll be wrong. But if in 18 months we're in a better position than we are now, I'll applaud it and say, I never saw that coming. Because I think we're in big trouble. And I think the evidence is there. I don't think I'm predicting the bloody lottery numbers. I think we're in big trouble with the way the club is going. And the thing that really frustrates me is that as a fan base, we can't all see this collectively. We may all have different opinions. We may all not like each other, whatever. But ultimately, apparently we all support the same football club. And for me, the captaincy issue, the starting 11, the manager, what's been going on for the last 3 years, why we didn't get a CDM, all of these bad decisions, why did we not buy anybody in January, why did we keep Lingard, all these bad decisions that cause us all these problems, it's not Harry Maguire's fault, it's not Ronaldo's fault, it's not Rangnick's fault, it's the owner's fault. Everything that goes wrong in that football club is the owner's fault. If you own something and your car's not working, it's your fault if it's not working. Look, it might have got a puncture, that might not be your fault, but you know where Alfred's is, go and get it fixed. It might have an oil leak. Well, it might not be your fault while it's happened, it might be wear and tear, but it's your car, go and fix it. The Glazers own this Manchester United, and any problem with it is their problem to fix. It's not ours. We don't own this club. We love it. We want it to be solved, but we can't make United buy a holding midfielder. We can't make United let Lingard go in January like they should have done. We can't choose the captain. We can all have an opinion, but we can't do it. You know what, though? We should not sit there and go, well, just let it happen. We can't do anything about it. There are people in that club who can make these decisions and don't make them. And that's the big problem with United. And the next 18 months, if it does go bad, it's not your fault. It's not my fault. It's the owner's fault. And that's the problem at United. The ownership is poor at best. And this is where it puts us in problems. Mark, could changing the captain have been transformational for our season? Surely with Maguire we plod on. Is that selection in itself? I think Megan's dad has asked a really good question and I want to get everybody's opinion on this. I'm going to do a poll, actually. Where do all these failure-loving so-called United fans come from all of a sudden? They keep criticising Ronaldo but never even say a word about Maguire, SK. I don't know. Everyone's entitled to opinion. I suppose you've got to respect it, but you can challenge it. I had a highly skilled, quite smart former employee who I recommended for promotion. They got it and cracked under the added pressure and responsibility. Mentality is key and not everyone has it, says Brandon. And does the club want to stagnate further by appointing Poch, always picking managers after effectiveness, says Dan. United like to appoint a coach who is desperate for the job. Mourinho was desperate for the job. Van Gaal was desperate for the job. Moyes was desperate for the job. Ollie was desperate for the job. It would be really nice if United went for somebody who's not desperate for the job, that they have to beg to get the job. That might be the way to go. I know it's very simplistic and they won't do it because they like a puppet, but that would be very interesting to try. I'm just going to put a poll in here and then I'm going to sort of answer it while you're answering it. So is now a good time to change captain? Now, I think that I know what the answer is going to be, but I actually don't think now is a good time to change the captain. And people are going to go, oh, you're such a hypocrite, you're such a hypocrite. Would I change the captain? Yes. Do I think now is the good time to do it? No. Well, you're a hypocrite then. Well, no, I'm not. Because I said to change the captain in the summer. Even before we got Ronaldo, I said give it to Bruno. I said after the Europa League final, I wasn't happy with that season. We need to change the direction. We need a new formation and we need a new direction and we need a new leader. And I felt that Bruno should have been given it then. Now, I probably might have got that wrong. Bruno's been very petulant this season, so maybe I would have got that wrong. But just because you get it wrong doesn't mean the change wasn't right. And what I mean by that is, if you feel that a change is needed, the grass ain't always greener. And what I mean by that is that, look, I 100% think we should have changed the captain a long time ago. And the new captain might not be the right choice, but that doesn't make changing the captain any worse. That just means it was slightly better before, but that wasn't right. So you can't be scared of change, is what I'm trying to say. Do I think changing the captain halfway through the season is a good idea? I think it's brave. And I think you need a strong manager and strong ownership to do it. The end of the lesson. We can't do it. We don't have a strong manager because he's got no power. And we don't have strong ownership because they're not very good. So changing the captain at this time, probably not the best idea for Manchester United. And certainly it isn't from a brand point of view. But we should have done it at the start of the season. That's when we should have done it. I'm new to the channel, been binge watching for the last few weeks, and you're a breath of fresh air, mate, and fully crack me up sometimes. Thank you, says Don. Well, thank you very much for watching. Now, look, we're at 73% are saying that now is a good time to change captain. But I thought that would be the case. But I think it's always important in life and in football to try and appreciate both sides. I think stubbornness is a bad trait, and it's like that old Brian Clough quote, isn't it? I'm always willing to listen to somebody else and what they've got to say. And basically, we'll sit down, they'll tell me what they think, I'll tell them what I think, and eventually we'll come to a decision that what I said is right. And that's the Brian Clough strategy, and the quote is more or less like that. And I think that, I like that quote, but I think it's also very important that you do listen to what somebody else's side is. You don't have to agree with it, but people are very passionate about their football, and you can't just dismiss somebody's opinion. There'll be people out there who are saying, oh, you know what, I think Harry Maguire's been treated unfairly. I think he should be the captain and now's the time to get behind him. I respect that. I actually agree with a lot of it, but I'd drop him on Sunday. So but that's my opinion. But I don't have a problem with having people having a different opinion to me. I don't need to fall out with somebody because they have a different opinion to me. Bruno should be captain. He plays with his heart on his sleeve and players follow him. He's turned our club in the right direction. Give him the band, says D-Train. You see, I think I like this sort of conversation because maybe some people don't want Ronaldo to be the captain. Maybe some people want De Gea to be the captain. Maybe some people want Bruno to be the captain. My biggest problem is, and I'll use the analogy because it brings a bit of comedy, and a comedy is, that's why I use banter, the pink boots, burying a shit on a marble floor and all that. I do it on purpose because I think, you know, you don't want to go down that road of hate and banter. While some people find it offensive, at least it is banter. And I think that in relation to the current captain of Manchester United, I do feel like no matter how willing they are and no matter how much some of our fan base want to get behind them, it's a sympathy vote. It's loyalty. Is it blind loyalty? Is he the best captain in the team? No. It is a guy on a rocking horse with a breadstick as a sword going off to fight, and behind him there are people in tanks with heat-seeking missiles. They've got all the gear and they know how to lead, but they're having to get behind somebody who doesn't. And I think that is unfair on Harry Maguire, but it's the situation that United have created. And I admire him in a way if he doesn't want to give up the captaincy, because ultimately that shows strength. But, you know, I've actually, look, there's no point in saying this because it doesn't compare, but I have actually been in that situation. I've been in a situation where, you know, I used to be quite decent at football. I quite fancied myself as a sort of captain material myself, but you know, I've played for a team where there's somebody who's a better leader than me, and you know, when you put your hand up at the start of the season who wants to be captain, and I did, and 2 or 3 other people did, and then it was about who's going to vote, and I withdrew because I didn't want to be voted for by my mates. I didn't have any. No, but I didn't. I knew certain people were, I suppose it's very similar to what's going on in United, and that's why, look, I don't have a problem with dressing room unrest in certain circumstances. But what I do have a problem is of course there's going to be unrest, but resolve it. And in that circumstance, it's the start of the season. It's the school team. It's who's going to be the captain for the year. And it's like 3 or 4 of us put our hands up. I put my hand up. This other lad put his hand up. And 2 others that I was like, you know, they're okay, but whatever. And then it's a vote. And I was like, well, I know 3 or 4 of the lads will vote for me because we get on. And I knew it was going to be quite tight. And I just was like, he's better than me. I'm going to withdraw and vote for him. Because that's what was good for the team. And I wanted to be the captain. I did. I liked that. But he's better than me. And he's a better leader than me. And ultimately, if I'm playing on the pitch, as much as I feel I can lead, I can still do that anyway. But he's the leader. And I think that is, for me, why I look at this United situation. And I'm not comfortable with it. Because I don't think that... I don't think we've got the right leaders in that club. Do you think we can make top 4 with our current captain? Yes, I do. And I think that's probably one of the most important things, aka I do think we can make top 4 with the current captain, because I don't think we'll get top 4 because of the captain. So yeah, I do. I think the captain's role is somewhat overstated. You know, I do. But I think the captain's being picked because he is the captain. And that's where it's uncomfortable for me. I feel ever since Bruno missed the penalty versus Villa, he hasn't been the same, says Gustavo. Mark, are we not allowed to sell both Fred and Scotty this summer and get better replacements? Well, look, maybe we should, but we won't, SK. Would you take Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the summer, as Ralph wants a young but ready striker and he's Prem proven, says Mohammed? You know what? I think there's a show in itself in that, Mohammed. Who will be United's young striker? Because it won't be Haaland. And look, it's Friday night. It's the weekend. I'm looking forward to the 3 o'clock games tomorrow on Max Football. I'm looking forward to the morning show tomorrow. But hand on heart, I'm worried about United's future. And look, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. But I can't see... Look, I'm probably in the minority and I don't care. But I do think we are arguably in the worst position we've been in since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. And people would argue and say, well, you're talking out your arse because we finished in a much lower position under David Moyes. But David Moyes was a mistake that we got rid of in less than a year after Sir Alex retired. It was less than a year after Sir Alex retired that we sacked Moyes. So it was like, that was a mistake, but look, we've got rid of it quick. Let's move on. We're now 10 years after Sir Alex Ferguson retired, and I think that is a big difference. We're not in touch with success. We've had 10 years of failure, and we're in this position again. I do think we're in a really bad situation, and miracles can happen. Of course they can, but I think we're in a bad situation. Mark, have you changed your opinion on Bruno? Is the passion you once praised turned into petulance for you? Is it just a Simpson of the team right now? Look, Nick, I think it's a great question, and I won't hide away from a question on any player, and I think it's really important to be consistent. I think there's been a lot of talk of Maguire this week, and I don't think it's any secret that I would drop him at the weekend, and therefore the captaincy is irrelevant. I'd drop him because I think Lindelof's better. I also think Eric Bailly's better. That's my opinion. I would drop him. In relation to Bruno, I love Bruno as a player. I think he's fantastic. But there's something from a year ago that's not right. His first year at this club was unbelievable. His last year, even though he's still winning in key passes and assists and goals, he ain't the same player. And I remember one of our moderators, Paul Robinson, saying this. I wonder how long it will be after we sign Bruno before we drop him down to our level. And every signing we make, we do that. Liverpool buy players and take them to the next level. United buy players and they drop a level. And Bruno's dropped a level, definitely. Definitely. And he's still capable of getting goals and assists, but he's not the player he was in that first year. And he, you know what? I'll never agree with Ricky on Bruno because I think Bruno's a fantastic player and I think a lot of teams would take Bruno. If we put Bruno up for sale today, I guarantee one of Liverpool or Man City would want him. I think he's that good. But there's a petulance that's come into his game and I think it's a frustration. I think he's frustrated. And I sympathise with that because are you frustrated? As a Man United fan, are you frustrated? Because I am. So imagine what it's like if you're a player like Bruno who plays with his heart on his sleeve and wants to succeed. Maybe the reality's setting in. Maybe that first year he was full of hope and I can change things around. And maybe his second year has been, I can't. I want to, but I can't and it's frustrating. Maybe that's what it's all about. I don't know. But I'll never shirk saying a player's played badly because that's favouritism. That's an agenda, and that's something that we don't want at United. And unfortunately, some of us feel that there is a favouritism group at United, and you can't criticise it if you're going to support like that. I do have players that I like, but I'd never not call them out. Great content tonight, Mark. Do you think last season with COVID and the empty stadiums made United come into this season overconfident? Says Alec Murphy. Good question. Why did we finish second last year and why are we struggling this year? Very easy answer for me. It's got nothing to do with empty stadiums. I think what happened last year is that Liverpool had a horrific injury list and Chelsea sacked their manager halfway through the season. And there's nobody else that could have got near us other than those two. Man City won the title by a long way and we got second. But you know the interesting thing is, if you look at the season at the end, Liverpool and Chelsea nearly caught us up. Liverpool and Chelsea nearly caught us up when Liverpool had a horrific season of injuries and Chelsea only brought Tuchel in at Christmas. So we deserved to get second last year, but there's definitely mitigating circumstances and it wasn't empty stadiums. Liverpool and Chelsea, Liverpool have not had the injuries this year and Chelsea have had Tuchel for a full season and they're ahead of us. We are where we are and we are where we were last year. I don't think we're any better. I don't think we're any worse this year than we were last year. I just think that Chelsea and Liverpool have been the teams that they are. Harry Maguire is the worst captain Man United have ever had. He needs to leave the club. However, the Glazers want to protect their asset and drop him will devalue him, says Marcus S. And Shrivanshan says, do you think we will sell... Who does he think we're going to sell? Do you think we will sell Fred in the summer or give him a new contract? His current one is till 2023, Delo till 2023, and Tellez, Victor and Bay till 24. I think Fred will get a new contract, mate. Yeah, I do. I think, without naming names because we don't need to, decisions are made at that football club that aren't about football. They're about how well you're liked in the dressing room, and you know, United will always try and get somebody on a contract regardless of their footballing ability. They're trying to get Jesse Lingard on a contract. They don't pick him, but they're trying to get him on a contract. It's Manchester United. It's about socials and it's about, you know, value, and that's the way it is. And you know what? We should never get tired of it. Every problem we have at that club is because we're run badly. It is. Any conversation about your captain, any conversation about your CDM, any conversation about expanding Old Trafford, any conversation about what's going on with the women's team, any conversation about anything is about the owners. And yet we end up in the trenches fighting with each other. And the string pullers are just there laughing, making money. Everything comes back to that. And that's one thing I always keep in my head. Rather than getting in, I try not to get into arguments with other United fans and try and think, well, look, they're United fans. They might not have the same opinion as me, but they are United fans. And why are we arguing? And most of the time, it's because of those above us. Hi, Mark. Do you think if we sign a proper CDM this summer, then McTominay can be played in his best position as a box-to-box? Says Vikrant. I'd certainly be interested to see McTominay as a box-to-box player. I'd still have reservations that he's good enough to play box-to-box in a title-winning team. And I suppose the best explanation is that if we had, say we bought Declan Rice, Pogba leaves, so you've got Declan Rice, Scott McTominay and Bruno Fernandes as a midfield three. It might be quite good. It might be quite good. But do you think Rice, McTominay and Bruno is going to be better than Rodri, Gundogan and De Bruyne? Or Kante, Jorginho and Mount? No. So if we want to win league titles, we're probably going to need better than McTominay. For me, I wouldn't sell McTominay. I think he's a very good player to have around the squad and a bench player. Look, people say he's Darren Fletcher. I think that's offensive to Darren Fletcher. I actually think Darren Fletcher was very, very good. But if he's going to play that role, a lot of his career, Darren Fletcher was a bench player. So, you know, I want to build the bench out as much as I want to build the first team out. You said that the team will post something nice about Maguire because of the drama, and that's exactly what they've done, says Charlie YouTube. Mate, just the only advice I would give, and you don't have to take it on board, it's not just to Charlie, it's everyone, is read the room. In life and in football, read the room. If something's negative said about United, they're always going to go for a positive. I said yesterday that when Rashford and Maguire got named as being against Ronaldo, I said in training I wouldn't be surprised if there's a picture with one of those players with Ronaldo. And lo and behold, there's a picture of Marcus Rashford with Ronaldo and it goes out on socials. It might be predictable, but it's exactly what you're going to expect. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Harry Maguire interview coming out soon. And I wouldn't necessarily criticise United for doing it. But we should expect it because they've got to spin a positive. That's their job. Unfortunately, I think at a club like Liverpool or Man City, go and beat Leeds 5-0 and score a goal. The best publicity Marcus Rashford and Harry Maguire could get this week was not to get involved in social media, was to go and beat Leeds and score or play well. That's how you deal with it. But not just Leeds. Man City next month. That's what you do. Because we can all tweet and we can all get a picture taken, but we can't all go and play well against Man City. And that's what we want. And that's where you'll get your respect. Paul Ince said it this morning, and even Rangnick said it this afternoon. Do your talking on the pitch. That is not a new statement. I've heard that for years, decades. Do your talking on the pitch. But unfortunately, the modern footballer has all these people talking to them saying, do you talking on social media? There's so much money in it. Do you talking there? As a footballer, if I was a professional footballer, I wouldn't give a shit about what's going on social media. And people would say, yeah, you would. Yeah, you would. I definitely wouldn't. I've got a lot of experience of social media over the last 5 years. People can really like you. People can really hate you. And, you know, that treading that line and you're never going to make people like you if they don't like you. You're not. In fact, being nice probably irritates them even more. So just do your thing. And these players are footballers. If you're doing well on the football pitch, you're not going to get criticised. You're just not. If Harry Maguire scores the winner against Leeds at the weekend, everyone's going to celebrate it, and they should do, because he's wearing a United shirt and we've won 3 points. It might cost us a goal against Watford and get criticised again. Consistency is key, but performance, do your talking on the pitch. Ollie and Carrick have created most of the problems we're facing now. Favouritism, making empty promises. I do agree, Minnie, but that's a controversial thing, but I do agree. Mark, you guys need a Mikel Arteta at least in personality to whip that team, and you already have ability to build a team with Ralf, says Sasa. Build a team is right, and I get this constantly from rival fans when I say it. They're like, oh my God, man's talking about spending more money when they've spent £1 billion already. We know we've spent £1 billion already. And I find it such an idiotic comment. You've spent £1 billion already and you want to spend more. Yeah, we do want to spend more, because you know that £1 billion you're talking about, we may as well put it on a bonfire. We've wasted it. We do need to spend money, but we need to spend it rightly. I think it's such a stupid argument when people say, oh, United fans want to spend more money and they've spent £1 billion. Like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's like saying, oh, you built a house out of straw and it fell down and you want to build another house. That's basically, if anybody ever says that to you again, if it's a Liverpool fan or an Arsenal fan and you say we need to spend money and they go, huh, you've already spent £1 billion and you want to spend more. Just say, yeah, so if I build a house out of straw and it blows away, can I not build another house? Like, that is the most perfect way of saying it. We have spent £1 billion. It's embarrassing, but we wasted it. We need to spend a lot more money and we need to spend it correctly. We could spend another £1 billion and be where we are now, but we've wasted it. We've wasted our money, and we do need to spend money, because what, you know, these people who say, oh, you're going on about spending more money when you've had £1 billion. What's your solution then? Harry Potter and his fucking wand. What, you know, some people just want to take a pop at our club and they don't even think it through. So I'm saying we need to spend money and you're saying we've already spent money. Okay, I'm all ears. What do you think we should do? Well, you shit. Yeah, so what do we do then? We've already spent £1 billion. Yeah, we spent £1 billion. We wasted it. What do we do now? Well, yeah, you probably need to spend some money, don't you? Yeah, piss off. Like, of course we need to spend money. The squad's not good enough. The players aren't good enough. We've got to spend money. It's embarrassing. We've wasted £1 billion. I take it on board, but we still need to fucking spend money. People just don't think. Anyway, I could go on all night. I'm not going to. It's Friday night. Thanks everyone for watching. I've really enjoyed the show tonight. I'm not in a great mood. You know what? My FIFA career mode. Fucking hell. God. Goldbridge out for 7 months. Varane. If you know, you know. But look, I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm back in the morning. Don't miss the show tomorrow at 3 o'clock on That's Football. There's loads of 3 o'clock kickoffs. Arsenal are playing Brentford. Everton are playing. I think Chelsea playing Palace. So there's loads to keep an eye on. But I'll be back in the morning anyway. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Really enjoyed the show. And yeah, look, we're not always going to agree. I don't get it why people don't get it. Like I've been saying for years, I don't mind when people don't agree with me. And I like it when people have different opinions. Like me and Robert McCormack, we never agree. Never agree. But I totally respect him, even though I don't agree with him, because he has an opinion and he expresses it in a way that I can understand it. And that's, you know, that's the way. But I'll never agree with people abusing people. So all this, oh, United stand creates hate against players. It's the biggest load of crap I've ever heard. If anybody spent 10 minutes watching these shows, they'd realise that, yeah, we've got strong opinions. We've all got strong opinions, but it doesn't mean that we want people to get hate and abuse, because that's never right. But if somebody's shit in a United shirt, you should be able to say it, because that shirt means something. It really does. And you've got to stand up for that. Thanks for watching. Smash a like on the video. I'll speak to you all in a bit.